Chance to seal it. It's done. It's Georgie Kelly. Rotherham United's pathway back to the Championship is opening up.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to New York Talk and happy Alan Lee Day. Welcome to New York Talk. Something positive to start on before the inevitable. We are here to review a draw at Stevenage. Not really incident packed, but we'll try and get an hour out of it. Thanks to Dylan Phillips. And then we'll go from there. First of all, Mick, how are we doing?
All good, mate. Yeah, thanks to you.
Very, very good. Thank you very much. Joy's back with us. How are you doing, Joy?
Very good, thank you, Matt.
Very, very good. And Tom's back. How are you doing, Tom?
Yeah, excellent. And yourself, Matthew?
Very, very good. Thank you. Tom, would you like to start everybody off while I go and plug my microphone in, which I forgot, by telling everybody about the London Marathon you watched yesterday on the way to the football game?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's not much to say, really, is there? There was, I live about 15 minutes away from the London Marathon, so I thought I may as well hop across to have a watch of it. I saw someone with a Sheffield United shirt, and that was about as football-y as it went. But yeah, no, it was a busy day for me. I just went and watched it by myself for like an hour and a half, so that was fun.
Fair enough. Next year, you're joining in?
I've put myself up for the ballot, so the slim chances I'll get in. If I do, I'll run it. If not, then I'll see about charity-based work. But yeah.
Fair enough. We've got loads of people with us. YouTube viewers and Martin Holland, John Hinchcliffe. Richard is with us. Says, good evening. Amy, good at playing catch. Kilthorpe says, good evening, peeps. Oh dear. Dave Lawton's with us. Steve Gauntly, John Hensby, Steve Grundy. So Robin says, evening all. Happy Alan Lee Day. Wow, do I feel 24 years later. Let's start with that, Mick. Let's start with Alan Lee, because we'll talk about the game yesterday particularly. And you were there, and I assume Joe was there as well. So we'll have 5 minutes on Alan Lee, shall we? Because I just love Alan Lee. Talk to me about the day, Mick, because that was my first big day as a Rotherham fan. I know we got the promoted the year before, but double promotion just felt massive, and I was like 11 at the time. It just felt huge.
It did. I know. Stop it, John.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
I can still remember him pulling his foot back. I can picture it now in my head, and it just almost felt like it trickled into the bottom corner. It didn't, but it just felt like it. And it's one of my earliest. I mean, it's not early. I mean, I was obviously a lot older than you were at that time, but I just remember going absolutely mental. Just it was awesome. It was fantastic, and we loved Alan Lee anyway.
Yeah,
and that just absolutely sealed the deal as far as he were concerned. And then when you watch it back, let us not forget Brian Chappell's commentary of that.
Correct.
Because that is just from a Rotherham United point of view, not a footballing point of view. Almost maybe arguably from a footballing point of view, but from a Rotherham United point of view, it's absolutely iconic. The way it's just beautiful. So yeah, great, fantastic, and we love Brian. Brian's an absolutely lovely bloke. So that just sort of everything that was Rotherham United. Just that moment.
Yeah, that's why club commentaries should never be gotten rid of for moments. Yeah. I know it's always a local radio station, but club commentary is massive. And that I think when we had Brian Chappell, I think he said it won an award for like commentary of the year or something like that.
And also, sorry, let's not forget that Brian is not a trained commentator.
No,
Brian's a school teacher. Brian was my school teacher. And he kind of fell into that role, and then he absolutely nailed it. Yeah,
he did absolutely. Joey, give me your views of the day. It's one of those weird ones where basically the entire stadium was Rotherham United. There was like a small slither in the far stand of the away fans, but it was like not just a home game, an entire stadium of Rotherham fans. And it was loud, from what I remember.
It was. if you remember, they went ahead, didn't they?
You did, yeah.
And then Talbot, who never gets a mention on Alan Lee Day, drew us level. And all I remember that second half is chewing my fingers down to the bone, basically, because it was so stressful. It was really, really stressful. Because no matter what we did, we just couldn't break them down. And it got to 90 minutes. We knew that Reading were losing, and we knew that if we won, we would get that second spot behind Millwall, wasn't it? And then when it went in, it was like 90th minute, wasn't it? So everybody just went. I think the roof came off more than it would have done because of the stress of it, because of the nervous anxiety that everybody was under. And it was just like total and utter relief when that ball, well, I wouldn't say, went over the line. It didn't trickle, but it weren't much more than a trickle, were it? I mean, he half shanked it, didn't he, on his shin?
Yeah.
He didn't catch it. So, yeah. We all went bananas, didn't we?
Yeah.
Absolutely bananas.
We did, absolutely. Yeah. Great day.
I mean,
Great day
when I think about it, when we got promoted in 74, 75, I was there, and I was really I was a kid myself then. I ran on the pitch and some personage nicked me bobble hat, which weren't very nice. And then I was there in Carlisle in 1980 when Rodney scored in the 3rd minute, and hardly anybody were in the ground. What I remember about that day is I was 18 and I went on a bus, and I was the only woman on this bus and never had to buy a drink all day. On a 52-seater bus, the 51 men looked after me like I was an absolute queen. I remember that day vividly. And everybody jumping in the river at the back of the stadium at Carlisle. That was amazing. So, and then the year before this, I was at Hartlepool when we won at Hartlepool. And I remember going, and I was on 606 with Richard Littlejohn talking about it. So, my media career
started early.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously there were promotions, but those are the ones I remember. But what I remember about that was the anxiety levels and the roof just absolutely coming off when we scored, because we just did, it was just so.
Yeah, absolutely. A great Millmore moment. There's been a lot of Mill moments. That's right up there with some of the best moments down there. I'd love to ask you about it, Tom.
Yeah, I know. If you were 11, I fear I was probably not around. So yeah.
You weren't even a twinkle, were you?
No, I don't think I was even a thought at that point.
Was your dad there? Do you know?
I think he was.
Yeah.
I think he used to go. Him and his dad had a season tickets to Millmore and the rest of the family. So yeah, I'm sure they were there around then. I'm sure I'll get a text from him now saying that he was. I'll message him.
Brilliant. I agree. I think yesterday was the anniversary of the Aldershot game as well. It's that time of year, and St George's Day can't be far off. Is that in 2 days?
It can't be far off.
I think. So it's that time of the year where some great memories pop up. David Lawton says Brian Chappell comms on Radio Didar, still brilliant all these years later. Sarah Ogden says she can remember everything about the day, even playing pool in the Kingfisher before the game. She has the 2-0 win at Wigan, set it up when Reading lost at Walsall the Saturday before as well. Yeah, a great time, a really, really great time for the football club under Ronnie and Breck and everybody else involved. But back down to earth, Tom, with a 1-1 draw at Stevenage. To almost seal 13th place in League One. We'll come on to the specifics because there's quite a lot of specific performances and a couple of incidents to cover. What was your feeling coming out of the game and kind of reflecting on it? Were you disappointed? Was it a fair result? How do you sum it
up? I think I'm not as disappointed as I would have been if it meant something. I think is the old underlying feeling. But again, it was another poor game with good moments, and I think there's been a lot of them since Hamshaw came in, where there's not really a sustained period of good play. There's moments and there's flashes of, what a good League One side should look like, and then it sort of dwindles and dies. almost immediately. There were, for all the doom and gloom of that game, and it was a bad game, we should have gone into halftime 3-0 up, and that's, with chances not being, open nets missed and Wilkes not timing his run correctly and whatnot. If those slight margins are better, you go in 3-0 up, and it's a completely different game. And again, it's crazy, isn't it? Because again, there's no disputing how bad we were at parts of the first half. Absolutely, the second half, we were really bad, and yet we still probably should have won that game 3-0, which again for me just shows how bad this league is and how the standard has really dropped. So yeah, really, I'd say disappointing, but I'm not really disappointed now. I think the immediate feeling was disappointment, and then even less, by the time I got home, I was sort of like, whatever, because it doesn't matter anymore. And that's not to say that I don't care about how we play or what we do. It's just, it doesn't last. It doesn't linger for me if there's nothing really at stake.
Yeah, I know what you feel. Looking back, Mick, it was one of those things. The way where we drew the game, which we will come on to, but the way we set ourselves up, it feels like a kick in the gut. But if you step back and look at it, I think a draw probably is a fair result. I think they dominated the ball in the second half. I don't think they necessarily had too many clear-cut chances, but they had all the ball, other than the chance that JJ's got the better with. We didn't do anything in the second half. That's probably the biggest disappointment, really. We had the lead and we didn't do anything with it. And to be fair to Stevenage, they probably deserved their point in the end.
Yeah, arguably, I think you're probably right. We just didn't take the game by the scruff of the neck, did we?
No.
Which we haven't done for almost all the season. In fact, for all season, realistically. Maybe a couple of games where we have done, but they were there for the taking, as is virtually every single team in this division. And we've just not been at the races at all. And given the stage we are at the season and how there's absolutely nothing to play for, I suppose it can be. It's a bit understandable that nobody's going to really go balls out to try and win a game. Well, the vast majority aren't. There's one or two still that putting the bodies on the line, even though there's nothing to play for. But again, I'm sure we'll come on to that. Yeah, just Paul. One thing I would say, one interesting thing that I took from the game, Alex Ravel has had all season with that team, and there was talk, obviously, that he might come with Evans ultimately. Had he come with Evans, we would still be in exactly the same position now, because the way Stevenage set up, the way that they played, was a mirror image of Evans's setup. For me, I thought they were poor. I thought they were a long ball. They were a long ball team with two big lads who most of the time tried to head the ball at back. Sometimes they did it forward. Sometimes it came off at corner of their head. It was just, but it was poor. I thought, and they've got some decent players in there, players who can run with the ball and everything else. But tactically, I thought, yeah, I'm glad we didn't go down that route ultimately, because I think whatever it is tactically he learned is taking it from Evans and Rayner, and not great. I'm surprised at Alex Ravel, really. I thought he'd have been a little bit more progressive in his tactics, but that may change next year. But he's had a full season with them, and disappointing.
I'll take this chance to apologise on behalf of New York Talk to all Stevenage fans listening. You've got to bear in mind the budget, to be fair. You've got to bear in mind.
No, it's not a criticism necessarily of the club themselves. It's specifically aimed at the manager, at Alex Ravel, because I thought with his age and his outlook that he would tactically be a lot better than Evans and Rayner, which is not a difficult thing to do, and I don't think he is. That's what I'm saying.
This is obviously a Stevenage podcast. What I would say is for the finances he's got is limited, and the last thing he wants to do is trying to play a bit more football with players that can't do it. They're only going to finish 14th, which is not a bad thing for Stevenage.
No,
but if they did try and be a bit more progressive and it went backwards, they'd be probably in relegation. We look at Burton at times
before they changed the manager. They were a bit tippy-tappy and a bit ineffective. Stevenage had found a way to finish 14th. Like we said, we wouldn't be happy with it because before the season started, we had better expectations. But I know what you mean. I know what you're saying.
It's a fair point. You make a fair point, and I'm not going to argue with you because I can't. But
fair enough. Yeah, on the frustrating side of things, Terry says, how many matches can you say about that? Say the same about this season, Joy? And this is another frustrating of the season. Basically, every game we've lost, other than Birmingham and Crawley, and maybe one or two others, there's not been much. It's just been us not doing something a little bit better, and that's all yesterday was. It was fine margins. If you do something, if we did one thing a little bit better, we've won the game. And if we did a couple more things, we could have easily won it. It's the story of our season. That's why we're probably going to finish 13th.
I mean, I thought that myself. I thought that performance yesterday just sort of encapsulated the whole season. Yeah, there was some nice stuff, not so good stuff as we've touched on. It's all pretty meh, isn't it? It has been all season. I'm sorry, I can't get excited about it. I'm just glad that next Saturday it's all coming to an end, and I can't wait for that fat leggy to start warming her tonsils up because I've just had a bag full this last year, 2 years to be honest. And having said that, I can't say I hold out a great deal for the upcoming season because of whom remain under contract as well. And I suspect we'll be touching on that in the not too distant future. But I can't, unless he's got his top hat ready with a load of rabbits to pull out of it.
Yeah.
Well, I hope I'm wrong, but like I said, yesterday just encapsulated it. The best thing about yesterday was a nice day, wasn't it? Or a nice afternoon out. And football, you can say this for a lot of games this season. The 2 hours on that Saturday is the bit that's has ruined the day, basically. Not ruined it, but it's just been meh.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry.
One positive was the bit where we filmed the instant reaction was a beautiful little park next to the stadium. It was absolutely beautiful. I didn't expect that in the middle of Stevenage. Just a beautiful next to an industrial estate, next to a stadium. It was just this wonderful park. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
But this is it. This is the sort of thing we're having to grasp hold on this season, isn't it? The little parks at the side of the Lamex. Ooh, what do you do?
Exactly.
Sums it up.
Steve says, I was a bit disappointed we didn't show much quality going forward. Probably on Nombe with his next year. It doesn't really matter. Let's go to the goal, Tom and Nombe. A ball in from Joe Powell, and Nombe's just reacted really well. 14 goals for the season for Sam Nombe in this team is a fantastic return. And you mentioned it yesterday in the interaction. We don't know if it was a coincidence or whether Nombe coming off had a massive impact. But as soon as Nombe went off, we lost complete control of the game. But he got the goal before the injury, and it was a very, very good goal.
Yeah, and looking back at it, it probably was not a coincidence that we lost a bit of, and the individual that came on is obviously a very different type of player to Sam Nombe, and there was a lack of energy and mobility up front because of that. And yeah, I said it in the post-match, but I just think he is, especially the second half of the season, I'd say, arguably, and even more, especially under Hamshaw, there's something about Nombe where, look, there's been so many chances this season where you can scrutinise him for missing them. There's been a lot of one-on-ones, and his finishing needs to improve, and there's various other aspects that you can say, but for a League One, and that's why for me, still not quite reached that 1 million mark, but my God, he's got some sort of ability to carry that team on his shoulder. And I think that game against Stevenage kind of proved it because, we've seen him play against all different types of, League One defenders this season. And ultimately, I think he's got the beating of all of them. It's just that last little bit that if he can improve upon, which I think he will get coached under Hamshaw, if he gets, if his finishing becomes more improved, which it's certainly seeming to be, becomes more composed, I I think we've got a leading man, and he just typifies what a Rotherham United player is. Mobile, tenacity, energy, aggression. He's got it all. He can do it all. So I think he's one that, even though he's still in contract next year, I would be looking this summer to sort of extend that contract for another couple. He's still quite young, and he can only get better. I think if he's properly coached, he can only get better. And in this data, I'm going to say this day and age, but in this squad, he's one of the few players that has made himself available every single game, which maybe every single game is a bit of a stretch, and ironic that he came off yesterday injured. But he's one of the only players that has been available most games this season, and one that at the end of every game you can say his quality lacks, sure, but his energy and his enthusiasm and his individual work ethic can never be questioned based on this season. So I really like Nombe, and I think that finish at the back post was keeper's fault and poor defending from Stevenage. But again, as I said on the post match, I think 6 months ago he tries and squares that back across goal, or he skews it completely, or one or the other. But the vein of form he's in and the confidence he's showing, he puts it away. And if Stansfield's 15 million, then I think Nombe's up there at least, isn't he? So
yeah. Transfer market's showing that he's only missed 4 games. One of those, it's saying he's Stockport away, but he started against that. So I'm not trusting. We'll check into stock the transfer market, because obviously that's not right. If the rest of it has only missed 3 other games this season.
Interestingly, one of those games, Owen Evans said that he weren't making himself available in training.
Yeah, he played half an hour in that game.
Yeah, he was still he was available for the game, though. He just wasn't selected due to
14 goals and 5 assists, so almost 20 goal involvements from Sam Nombe. And I wonder how many goals we've scored this season. Yeah. It can't be many more than 40 or 50, can it? So we shouldn't really do research on the fly, but we've scored 52 goals this season, and Sam Nombe has been involved in 19 in the league.
Yeah.
So that shows how important a player he is and how important he's going to be. Before we come to a negative, Mick, talk to me about Sam Nombe. He has the potential to be a leading figure in the league next year. He's shown in a bang average team that he can score goals. Under Matt Hamshaw, for me, his all-round game is significant. He's got 4 goals in 7, which is a very, very good return. He's able to run the channels like I assume Matt Hamshaw player wants to do. He's now consistently ticking all the boxes, not just here and there. He's at a point now where even when Evans was here, I think Nombe was still decent this year. He's ticking all the boxes at the right times at the minute, and I think that's, for his own development, that's a massive step forward. Yeah, it is. He's added goals to his work rate, hasn't he? His work rate is unquestionably there, and he just needed that confidence, I think. And it appears that Matt Hamshaw's sort of brought that back. So yeah, he's going to be a really, really important player for us next year. So we'll have to see how the contract negotiations go in that regard, because it will be a saleable asset, won't he? Yeah. If he develops well enough, which I'm absolutely sure that he will. So that's one to keep an eye on, I think. Look, he might go this summer. I don't know anything, but his value right now is as high as it's going to be. If we don't sign into a contract, his value is going to go down after this summer. So Matt Hamshaw might do a bit of kind of clever accounting and sell him on and see what else he can do with that money, potentially. Time will tell on that one. Do you see it the same way, Joy, that as soon as Nombe goes off, we'll come on to Clark Harris later, but in terms of when Nombe comes off, did you think that was one of the reasons why the game kind of changed a little bit post that? Because we were quite good up until the goal, I thought.
I mean, Tom's already touched on it. The difference between him and Clark Harris is, well, obviously noticeable, isn't it? I mean, he's just a wardrobe, isn't he? Clark Harris is a wardrobe. You might as well just put a wardrobe on. You'd have got as much response from it. You don't want to sort of call a professional player, but it's just not brought anything at all, has he, this year whatsoever. he's supposed to come back to reignite what he was meant to have done initially when he was with us, and it's just failed miserably. And I suspect he'll think the same, and obviously he'll not be happy as well, because one would assume that he has a certain amount of, wants to do well. Everybody does. I mean, he's quite comes across as quite that little bit of arrogance as well. So the fact that he's not pulled any trees up can't be holding that very well himself, I wouldn't have thought. So maybe that means that he thinks that he owes something next year, assuming he's around. Can't imagine anybody coming in and spending anything on him, can you? I mean,
no.
But, yeah, I just don't envy Matt Hamshaw this close season with what he's got, what's likely to move on, what's available to come in, etc. It's just, I can't work it out myself. What the state will be.
No, I agree. I agree. It's a shame for Clark Harris because he was underwhelming in his first spell with moments of quiet goodness. We haven't had those spells of quiet goodness this second time. It's just been very, very underwhelming. Dave Lawrence says John Clark Harris, as bad as I remember him first time around, was naffed off when Evans brought him back because expected exactly what we've got, nothing. I'll let you have your moment, Tom, because Mick whinged at him yesterday on the instant reaction. But there's some key moments from Clark Harris. There's a chance in the second. There's two chances in the second half, isn't there? There's a chance where it falls on his left foot and he takes the extra touch, which is a rubbish touch, and then there's the pass inside from JJ. We can argue about what happened with JJ, but Clark Harris has got to do better from that position as well. It's just there's no redeeming features at the minute for Clark Harris, and that's obviously a big problem.
No, and to give him some sort of positive, I thought his link up was okay at times. I thought his playmaking ability has always been like quite all right for a striker, but he never get. He
can ping out to left, weren't there?
Where he chested it down and volleyed it to James, which was just probably one of the best things he's done his whole career. And that's not even I know he scored a lot of goals, but that was technically quite brilliant. And it's just funny, isn't it? Because I mean that chance, especially the first one you're talking about, when he was running through on his left foot with a clear line at goal, and he didn't shoot. Whether or not it went in is, obviously you expect it to go in, but the fact that you didn't even shoot or attempt to shoot, that is not a Clark Harris that I've ever even begun to think existed. The fact he tried to cut it back to someone who had three men around him, I can't really remember it that clearly because I was so frustrated with him not shooting, but I don't know what it is. I really don't, because as I've said most of the podcast this season, I always thought that Clark Harris was probably the best finisher at the club because there were so many opportunities and there were so little opportunities where he actually had it on his left foot in the box. And the only two times I can remember is Peterborough in the first game. Sorry, I've not even played them twice. The first Peterborough game and the first Northampton game when we won 3-0. And those were two really good finishes. The rest of them have been penalties, and you can't really talk about him in that vein. But yeah, it just really surprised me. And I think that was just indicative of how his season's gone. There was a player that, Peterborough let him go for a reason, and that reason we won't know, but we can kind of guess. But from the season starting to now, there's been a decline in his ability and his confidence, and I don't even know if it is confidence, just lack of attacking intent or lack of. I don't want to say lack of botheredness because I don't think he truly has the ability to look bothered. I think his legs have just completely gone to the point where you're going to say he's unbothered because he can't physically move anywhere. But anyway, I think we all know that Clark Harris is not a striker going forward for us. I think it's better off that we just cut ties, and whether or not someone comes in the summer, I don't know, because he's going to be on a lot of money. And his style of play doesn't suit many clubs I can really think of, where he's just an out-and-out poacher. And the way that he played yesterday was, not even that of a poacher. So it's really, really tough. I thought he was, again, another positive just for the sake of it. I thought he was really good defending. Again, it's another thing, you know, defending balls into the box and stuff. He's useful for that, but you know, as your striker, you've got to be able to do more. And you know, Hugill, we've seen, can do a lot more. JJ has had 5 minutes, maybe 10, and again did a lot more, albeit should have been a bit more selfish, and I was a little bit disappointed with that chance. But yeah, we all know that Clark Harris is you know, his legs have just completely gone, and with that is his ability to be a striker, be any kind of a good striker. So unfortunately, it's I can't see him in the setup.
No, it would even in the pre-match. If you watch the pre-match, a warm-up, even in the warm-up, he literally couldn't hit target. I think he hit post once from the kind of layups and shooting they were doing. And if you're not hitting target in warm-ups, it's not a good sign. But for a striker like Clark Harris, where it's all about rhythm and everything else, it's never a good sign. Do you have anything you want to add on that, Mick, on Jonathan Clark Harris before we move on?
No, not really. I think there's an attitude issue. Attitude's perhaps not the right word, but his approach to the game is an issue. I don't know whether his head's gone. I don't know whether he's... I speculated, I think, yesterday on the post-match that maybe he's been told by Matt Hamshaw that he's not part of his plans. That was the way he played for me yesterday. And I know you pointed out the fact that he's been given game time, he's been given an opportunity. So maybe he hasn't been told that. I don't know, but he's not my kind of player, so I don't want to be critical of him because he's been there, he's seen it, he's done it. You know, he's got the t-shirt, and I'm not. You know, he's just not my kind of player. I wouldn't have signed him. I didn't think he was particularly great for us the first time around. Like I think it was Terry said it in the comments, or David in the comments there. You know, I didn't think he was great the first time around, and he's been even worse this time in terms of his impact on games. You know, and yesterday he should have had 2, and arguably the Clark Harris of old, even the one that was here first time with us, would have had 2 yester's, or there'd have been 2 broken jaws in away end. Like ball it. You know, and that's just not there. That desire, that desire to score goals doesn't appear to be there. So. Yeah, I think he may be gone.
Someone says Jonathan Clark has had much service this season, which is true at times. But when he has had the chances, he's not looked like scoring too much, and that's been the problem. But
you have to question how much impact that has on a player's confidence. But like Joy alluded to earlier on, you know, he has got that sort of that hint of arrogance about him, which is not a criticism. You know, as a footballer, as a player. You have to have that. You have to have that in you. I remember when we spoke to Alfie, he talked about arrogance and that line between arrogance and I can't remember what it was, but you know, you have to have it. You have to have that confidence in yourself and belief in yourself. And I don't think he's got that. He may articulate that verbally, but I think in reality, I don't think he's got it.
No. I agree. Right, we're going to move on. Paul Rose, I've got my popcorn ready for Dylan. Thanks for the mention on the instant reaction. We are going to talk about that. But first of all, we've put together a little trailer for the Lee Pelty interview, which will be out in just under 2 weeks. A week on Saturday, this will be out. So I've put a couple of minute trailer together, which you will be able to watch now.
Got into the changing rooms and there was a real good feel, good team spirit about the place. Some really good characters in there, by the way, in the dressing room, which makes a massive difference. And you know, we had the momentum obviously from the following season, and it just obviously went into the championship season, and as you say, started really well, and you know, we were looking up rather than down. So I was enjoying the breaks, and then I got a call from Rob Scott. It was letting me know what was going on, and obviously if like the club were thinking of like me and Woody have not taking over, but looking after the lads until they found someone. One thing I'd say on that straight away is within that game, I remember me and Sean Morrison were talking, and we weren't right. I can remember saying to each other after the first 5-10 minutes of the game, we're not right.
Yeah.
Everything was all over the place. Surely something needs to be happening right now. As you say, the whole thing was a shambles. Nowhere near it.
Okay.
Nowhere near it. And listen, that's as much as I listen. When I first went there, I'd already signed, so I went down to the training facilities then afterwards, and I was like, wow. I always say, I say it now. I listen, I'm sure there's worse, but what I've seen, I think that's one of the worst decisions I've ever seen in football.
Yeah.
Listen, my time at Rotherham, I was only there for 2 years, but do you know what? I generally enjoyed it. I know the results and stuff like that, but I used to love going on that pitch and playing for the pitch and playing for the pitch, playing for the fans and playing for the lads who I was with and the managers and stuff like that.
So there you go. There's a quick 2 minutes on what Pelty had to say.
That was really well put together.
It was actually, yeah, because
It was really well put
a
together.
lot more questions than there is answers there from that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I want to know if when Peltz was talking about what was the game he was talking about when he said we weren't right in that first 5 or 10 minutes. We knew we weren't right. I won't tell you, but I want to know if anybody can guess what the game is from that one. Can you guess, Joy? No, there were so many, I suppose.
Too many.
Yeah.
Too many could have been.
Yeah.
I think the first thing I thought was the Watford away game. I don't know why, but I don't know. I'm trying to think of what was important because there was a lot of dross, weren't there?
There was a lot of dross.
Brutally honest. Well,
Yeah.
you could have said that for 90% of the game. Well, 95% of the games even.
Correct. It's an unsurprisingly honest interview from Lee Peltier.
Yeah.
He rides the line really, really well of being honest, but without being kind of bitchy about everything. He's just honest, and we'll put that out the Sunday after the season finishes is when that'll be out. So keep an eye out for the socials for next weekend. No, weekend after next. Right, back to the drabness, Joy. We were riding the game out pretty well. Defensively, we could talk about the attacking sense that we've talked about, but defensively we were sound, solid. Couldn't really have asked any more. And then they pump one long ball over the top, and Dylan Phillips just—I don't think he knows what he did, Joy. I don't think he knows what went wrong. He just seemed to forget how to jump for a minute, and it's a really basic error in it. It's just so basic, Joy.
Oh, he should have took the diving boots off, shouldn't he? But it was just horrendous, wasn't it? It was awful. Yeah. I mean, that's your basic bread and butter goalkeeping, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, what can I say? I mean, I think everybody went, "Oh, Phillips, yeah."
Yeah.
You know, so that was that's the only reason. Because it's not like the first time it's happened, is it? Particularly, you know, it was just so. I think everybody was sort of just, oh, yeah. I can't even put it into words because in most ways it's not unexpected of him, is it?
No.
You know, and it's like, oh, flipping it, Rotherham again, Dylan Phillips again. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I can't really add anything more to it. I mean, it's just basic bread and butter. I mean, could he have stayed on his line? Were there other people around him that could have challenged the guy? I mean, basically, if he'd have been on his line, it wouldn't have looped him, would it? Let's be honest. If he were, you know, I mean, he does that quite a few times, doesn't he? Come, you know, wandering out of his penalty box and fannying about. And he's done that a few times. He's got away with it on a couple of occasions, luckily for him. But, you know, it has been caught a few times as well. I mean, obviously, there's an issue there. He needs to stay at home rather than coming out to the edge of the penalty area. Why was he there? Yeah, I mean, I wasn't there. Can you guys tell me who were there? Why was he loitering on the edge of the penalty area like that?
Yeah, the bit that gets me is that if you watch it from behind the net, which somebody posted on Twitter, X, whatever, you can see that Cam is underneath the ball and then leaves it. So he must have had it.
And he looks back, doesn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, so
Cam
he must
looks
have had
back
a
as though
shout.
to say,
I don't know. From the wide angle, I don't think Cam Humphries can get there.
Right.
From the picture behind the goal, I think it looks like Cam could have got there. But if he jumps for that ball, it's going to, at best, I think he's going to skid off his head. I think he's got to almost leave it, and you should be able to trust your goalkeeper in that position, Mick. Surely you should be able to trust your goalkeeper in that position.
Dylan Phillips. You don't need to say anymore.
I don't know why I can't remember what I said on post match. I've had some time to reflect, and I kind of feel a bit sorry for him. I just do. It's a lapse in concentration. It's an absolute blunder, and he absolutely 100% knows what he's done. He knows what he's done wrong, and he's held his hands up to it. You know, what else can he do? Players make mistakes, and we've said this many times. Players all over the pitch make mistakes. 10 out of the 11 of them generally get away with it. Goalkeepers never do. They never get away with their mistakes because it always leads to a goal, or almost always leads to a goal. So their goalkeeper nearly did the same thing earlier on.
Yeah, he did.
And
he didn't though.
Well, he was very lucky. He was very lucky that I think it was Rafferty that just didn't quite get hold of the ball. Otherwise, that were in the back of the net. He got too much of the ball, and it just went slightly over the bar. So otherwise, he would have been in the same boat or a similar boat, you know, coming out to the edge of his box and not really getting to a ball that he should have got to, or effectively getting to it. I see the criticism, and I understand the criticism, and I guess it's justified because yes, he should have done better, but you can't kick the daylights out of somebody who makes a mistake and then holds their hand up and understands that they've made the mistake. Yeah, if he keeps doing the same thing over and over again, then that's a different matter. But when I'm sure he will make other mistakes because footballers do, people do. But I'm not going to beat him up about it. I don't think it's fair, personally. He knows what he's done. He knows he's done wrong. What benefit is there of just ripping him to pieces for it? There is none.
Yeah.
I think the issue is though it's not the first time.
No.
Yeah.
That he's come running out. Well, not that come running out of his airing out of his area. Sometimes he's gotten away with it, and other times he hasn't. Or thankfully, the person with the ball has not had the composure to finish it off. But it's not the first time he's finding out at the edge of the penalty box or running out like a mad thing.
No, it's not. And look, I kind of agree with David here in the comments. You know, he probably isn't good enough for this level. But yeah, I was speaking purely and simply on that incident. I probably agree with David there. I don't think he's good enough. He's certainly not good enough for what we should be looking for.
It's one of those cardinal sins. The keepers get told you shouldn't be beating any post, this, that, and the other. But one thing you should never be is out jumped when you have hands that can go so much higher. It should literally never ever happen. You've got such an advantage.
Yeah.
It's just basic. Like, you are right, mate. There's no he accepted it, but Paul Rhodes, Hack's reaction said behind him said it all. I don't know if he noticed that Hacks was very, very unhappy with somebody. And he wasn't the other one.
I do agree with you, Mick, and thinking, you know, he's out of contract literally next game, and I don't think we'll ever see him play for us again because, well, certainly as a number one, as a number 2 or 3 maybe, but certainly I can't see him signing on. So I think there's 2. I think it's just another one where you just got to rub your hands and shake hands with him and say, you know, cheerio, because there's no point digging him out and saying he's not good enough and this, that, and the other. He knows he made a mistake. We know he did. We know he's made too many of them. So, you know, it sort of goes. The bit that annoyed me was before the game when they were training and they were doing shooting drills and then sort of team building exercise and all that. And he was nowhere to be seen. You know, they had the young lad in net. Can't remember his name. Bassett, I think. Doing all the training drills, you know, having shots against him from the strikers in the net for when they were having little team exercises, and he was nowhere to be seen. What he was doing, I've got no clue. But if you're not training with your team, well, yeah. The thing is, you know, if you're not with your team 30 minutes before, you know, the game starting, training with them, you know, if you make mistakes, it's kind of on you, I guess, is my kind of also premonition around it. If he doesn't warm up correctly, and there's already been pictures of him spotted, you know, at halftime with his bovril, not really kicking, you know, not really training, not really trying. He's just, for me, his attitude is probably worse than Clark Harris's. You know, if you think his is bad, I think Phillips's is worse. So another one where you can't, you know, don't want to dig him out for his mistakes, but I'm not eager to sign him on.
No, he's not a standard driver. I think that's he's a second choice keeper, but he's not one of those where he's second choice and constantly pushing. He's just clearly very much a second choice goalkeeper, and I get the feeling he seems quite happy to be a second choice. I might be wrong, and that might be a little bit unfair, but he just comes across that he's quite happy to be number 2. He signed to be number 2 to Victor, didn't he? Very obviously second choice to Victor. Mike Miller says Cam Dawson is better, but not much better. I think Cam Dawson's much better than Dylan Phillips. I'm not saying Cam Dawson's an amazing goalkeeper, but he's much, much better than Dylan Phillips for me. But that may prove to be wrong next year as well.
Well, you've got to also bear in mind we've now got a proper goalkeeping coach as well in Andy Warrington. So, you know, that will have an impact.
I don't know if you watch when the full-time whistle came over, Warrington came over to Phillips, clip arms out, what happened? And Phillips didn't seem to know, did he? He was just pointing left and right and just somebody just knows they've done wrong and they can't explain why they've done something wrong. I did feel a bit sorry for him, but this is football. This is I mentioned this. It's a cut-through business. You've got to be better than that. John Davis, have we forgotten about the Bolton away win? Cam Dawson, exactly. Yeah, Cam Dawson with one of the performances of the season, absolutely. It came from another long ball, though, Mick, and this is a short sample size to use, but they just did what Mansfield did for the last couple of minutes, and they chucked their big lad up top. And after you concede the goal, it's maybe not fair to judge us because we're in panic mode, but as soon as they put the big man up top and they got the goal from it, and it just caused carnage, and that's something to look out for next year. If we come up against a team with a massive man up top, is that going to be a problem? Because it's looking like an early problem.
Well, we'll have some centre halves next year, you would hope. So that might help. That'd be a starting point, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Because much as Hacks was, for me, man of the match yesterday, and Cam Humphries had a decent game as well. I thought he was very solid.
I agree.
Certainly, Hacks is not a centre half. Although he's probably better than 90% of the centre halves in this division at being one. He isn't one. And Cam Humphries is not your big winning headers centre half, you know. And he's proved this season that he's arguably a better holding midfielder than he is a defender. So yeah, I'm not too concerned about that at this point. We'll also have Zach Jules back, who can win those balls and is comfortable doing that. So a couple more Zach Jules, please, in transfer window, and happy days. Yeah, I'm not too concerned at this stage.
Okay, fair enough. There were a couple of moments, Joy. There was the offside goal, which Malik Wilkes scored from Joe Powell. Very, very close. I watched the replay back, and it's with the angle, it's impossible to tell. But having said that, even if it's marginal, so if Wilkes does time his run a bit better, he probably still scores anyway. So what we could say is that's a really, really good bit of play. That's a really good bit of play from the team. And again, half a second earlier, Wilkes times his run, and we're 2-0 up in the game sailing. That was a really, really nice move, which we're unlucky with.
Yeah, it was. It's probably the best move of the match that we put together, to be brutally honest. And I think, again, it's just galling that He's a professional footballer, surely. And I think we should be aware of this with Malik Wilks. His decision making's off, isn't it? There's something wrong with his gyroscope, for want of a better term. You know, he always seems to dally on the ball when it's best to pass, or again, perhaps this is the arrogance of being a striker. Instead of passing, he goes alone when he'd be better off passing, or he's not just quite in the right place at the right time. He just seems to be that much off of being an excellent player. But then I suspect if he did have that little bit extra, he wouldn't be with us, would he? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a lot going for him, and one assumes he's going back to Wednesday. What's his contract situation there? I don't know.
We assume is that we think he's out. They haven't got anything. They don't release that information, kind of information, Sheffield Wednesday. But we think he allegedly is out of contract.
All right. I wonder. I mean, what do you guys think? Would you or would you not? I'd be honest with you. I'm on the fence.
It's going to come with the value for money. If he's on exactly. 7-8 grand a week, it's not worth it. But if he's reasonable, then I think it's worth the risk.
Yeah. You know, he has got, on occasions, he wafts in and out of games. Sometimes you don't even realise he's on the pitch, and then obviously then sprinkles a bit of stardust, and it's like he did with that second goal against Mansfield, and you know, he's a world beater. But you know, that's just every now and again, isn't it? So,
yeah, it is absolutely. Liam Lawton sums it up. Wilkes is unplayable or anonymous, not in between.
Yeah.
Sums it up pretty well. Harry says when he's on it, he is 100% worth it. When he's off it, I'd want him nowhere near the club. Wilkes are pretty well.
And that's why I'm on the fence. Really is.
Yeah,
we had more positive outcomes than negative, but we haven't really, have we? Well, not to mine viewing.
He's got a lot of assists, 8 assists, I think. 8 assists, 7 or 8 goals, something like that. So similar goal involvements to Nombe, but he just feels like he's more inconsistent. Well, he is, isn't he? Let's be right, he is inconsistent. When it was going well in the first half, Tom, I think it's important to point out, because we're looking ahead to next season at this point, Liam Kelly was really, really good in that first opening 25 minutes, half an hour. He was really there. He was really involved in the game, really positive. If he can stay fit, he is somebody that could be massive to the team next year. Because we think Cameron is going to go. I think Cameron in that sitting role could be good because he's got more energy, more legs, and whatever else. But Liam Kelly certainly looks like he could be key to anything Matt Hamshaw does next year.
Yeah, and I think Liam Kelly is someone who every time we've played well as a team, he's had a good game, and I don't think that's a coincidence. I think he's very much a player who keeps it ticking, who keeps the ball close. But I think his legs go quicker than most, and obviously that's due to his age. And if you can sort of manage to maintain his fitness and maintain his ability to keep up his consistency, I think he can really run games, and he's got a bit more tenacity than I thought he did. He's got a bit more sort of bite in a challenge and an aerial presence and physicality in the midfield than I thought he would have done. So I think that's something that he can add as well. But it's a tough one with Kelly because obviously he's here for another year, but I don't know if I'd select him as a starter. I think he's absolutely someone that you bring on in a game where you need to keep the ball and you're winning and you need to see the game out. I think you'd bring him on in those scenarios. But it was interesting before the game. They were all in the huddle, and he was giving the team talk before the huddle. He's clearly a leader in the dressing room, and I think an important figure in general. You know, he's been there, done that. But as a player, really neat, really tidy, technically good. Passing range is great. But for me, I think we need to be looking at other players to start instead of him, and just have him as a squad player. I think he's, as Martin said there, I won't get rid, but I think he's too injury prone to be guaranteed a starting 11 place. I think you can't rely on players like this anymore. You know, Raggett, Kelly, various others that I can't really think of at the top of my head. players that would be decent to have in the squad, but you can't rely on them as go-to players. And Kelly is fantastic and a good League One player, but in regards to a whole season, you can't maintain his ability, across the entire season. So that's the one negative I'd say about him.
Yeah, he's made a glass in it, sadly, which we were warned of by Coventry fans.
He's been ill. I don't know what injury he had. He was injured this season, but he's been ill for the last however many weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, or 2 or 3 games that he's missed has been through illness rather than injury.
They have, yeah, but he has been injured a lot this year. We
look a different team when he's playing, and it doesn't necessarily need to be him, but that somebody of his ability sitting in front of the defence. When Cam did it, we look a different team. And when we haven't got that player there, we tend to struggle. So that's just my view.
Yeah, I agree. When without Kelly, we're a different team. I think that's without doubt. It's whether you can get somebody like Kelly in who can be available a little bit more is going to be the question. And I would have guessed he's on decent wages as well. To come from Coventry to Rotherham in League One, I think you would have had to entice him a little bit.
Yeah.
With a decent wage. So, and he is out of contract, remember, so he's got another year on his contract. 33-year player on a 2-year contract signed last summer, which is maybe not the best idea. Before we go any further, I just want to put in the chat our end of season, what's it called? Feedback survey. Feedback survey sounds like it's from British Gas or something like that. But it's just to give us some ideas how we can improve the show, things like that, some ideas.
Get rid of Mick.
Not one person said that yet.
You're joking, you know what? I haven't put my response in yet.
We've had people asking for more Mick. That's what we've been having. I don't know how that's possible. Mick's on every episode. But I've put it in the comments. It's in the show notes as well. So if you're not watching live and you can't see the chat, it is in the show notes. We'll do a show in the summer where we go through some of the responses in there and some ideas we have for the season going forward. I'll just address Brett Ogden says it's boring. Invite proper fans to chat live. Something we did change last year. We have done 4 or 5 shows where any fan is available to come on and talk to us about any subject that they want. On each of those shows, we've had 1 person or maybe 2 people that are interested in coming on. We tried to get as many possible fans as we possibly can do over the season, and here we are. So when we do a fan show, keep an eye out for those fan shows because, again, it's an opportunity for people to give us their opinions. That's what we're here to do. Harry says very serious questions in there, like if you like Terry's eggs. Yeah, there you go.
Listen, if you don't, I can't compensate for that. I just can't.
Mick's going to find you and ban you from the podcast. So that's there. Let us know about that. What your thoughts on there, if you can do. Is there anything else from the game we need to mention? Any other individual performances that are mention worthy?
Would we like to talk about Hax's little flag at the end?
We can now. Apparently, that's a thing the club do. I've never seen it before.
No, neither have I.
Joy, I assume you've seen the flag. Have you seen this before?
No, I haven't seen it. I just took it as au revoir.
Yeah. I don't know.
They posted a picture. They've done it before.
With the flag?
Yeah. They had Hax and Ben Hatton do it last year, but same away kit and every different last year's away kit. So it has been done.
Well, that's cheered me up a bit.
That's cheered me up a little bit. Yeah.
I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, but it was still a bit ominous.
Yeah, it was.
It
was.
Yeah.
I took that as a see you later, but then he's playing next week anyway, so one would assume.
Yeah. Harry says it's in the flag before at Bristol away last year.
Yeah, that's where I saw it. I do remember. Yeah,
you were there, weren't you?
I was there. Yeah, I forgot which one it was out, but yeah.
Yeah. Where's if you had to put somebody else's money on it, Joy? Where's your money going on Hacks next year? I had a message from somebody else who knows from another podcast from another club saying that they are potentially going to be interested in him some team with a decent budget in this league. Could you see a scenario of Hacks still being a Rotherham player next year?
No,
I agree.
not what I want to say. No, you asked me, and I don't think he will be here next year, which I'm very sad about because I think he's the only player that's played consistently well throughout the season. I mean, if he doesn't win Player of the Season, every category, there's something wrong. To be brutally honest. So and yeah, I think he'll be gone. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, I agree as well. I agree with that as well. I completely agree. I can't see him being here, but I'd be buzzing. It'd be best business of the summer if we keep him. I think we do better. I think we do very well to get better than him in as a centre half or midfield, whatever the case may be. I think we would struggle to do better. Mick, Tom, anything to add on Hacks?
Don't go, mate.
Dressing always greener.
Yeah, I love him to bits. I think he's just a complete professional.
Yeah,
you know, and whatever happens, he'll always for me sum up what this football club's about, the way he plays his football.
I agree. I completely agree. Yeah. Is there anything else we need to mention from the game?
Nah.
Oh dear. Okay. Matt Miller says, just looked at the survey. Top question: do you like Tilly's cherries, chocolate, orange, cream eggs? We're a serious show. Okay, these are the things we need to find out.
I don't think that Mike considers that to be a serious question.
Don't know what you mean.
I didn't even know Terry's chocolate orange jig cream eggs.
What are you talking about, Joy? Oh my word!
It's like this Dubai chocolate that everybody's talking about. I've never seen it yet.
Joy, you need to stay on after and we'll discuss this.
I mean, you can't buy them anymore for another year, so.
Oh God, this is terrible.
This is what this season's brought us to. Spoiler says we saw the team bus. Hacks was signing autographs. So Gobby me said, "Well, you'll go up and sign the contract," and he laughed. Yeah, it'd be very nice. We have one more preview show left, and then one more review show left. Thursday and Sunday, back to normal schedule over the next few episodes. Then we have our prediction reveals shows, plus the Lee Pelty interview, and then we're going to have a proper end of season awards this year. I know it's not been a great season, but there's been some good performances to mention. There's been some good goals, good moments. So we're going to go back to the black tie event, which will be a week or two after the season finishes, to celebrate some good moments from the season. I know they've been few and far between. More Mick complaining about refs. You've been very kind about refs this season, haven't
you? Yeah. I had a bit
of John Morrell.
I was going to say I had a bit of a discussion with John on a chat the other day about the referees. He's not happy about it.
No,
but I overall I thought this season it's been so much better. But it's a difficult one, isn't it? It's a difficult one, and Mike's the less Mick complaining about refs, and I don't think I have necessarily this season. I genuinely still believe that the standard in this league is better than it is in the Championship. And yesterday was a perfect example because we got a Championship referee, and it was just stop, start constantly. Anytime anybody fell over, he gave a free kick. You know, it didn't help the game in any way. I think the standard is better, but you've got referees wanting to climb the ladder, aren't they? So they're trying to make an impact and do the job right. So I'm still confused as to, even now I still crossed my mind a few times today. How can a ball bounce off the corner flag and yet back into play and yet still be a goal kick? I can't get my head around that at all. It just makes no sense to me.
No, that was weird. On refs, what I would say is I think Rotherham had a very easy team to ref at the minute.
Yeah.
We don't make the game difficult, do it. So I think that's possibly why we've kind of looked on a little bit easy. We've had it a bit easier with refs because they've not had anything to do really in our games, have they? Too much. And that includes last season as well, actually. Yeah, Lionel last I was a bit iffy. Yes, that is a stinker. Some absolutely rotten.
Yeah, well, he was a corner flag man, wasn't he? That just didn't make any sense to me.
No, it didn't. No.
I had a bit of a paddy.
It did. That happens.
Yep.
I don't asking why are we all shouting at the linesman? Because he's rubbish. We're going to win the Fair Play Cup. Bit of silverware coming into the trophy cabinet this year. I think we've got the no red cards and the least amount of yellow cards, I think. So that's not the Rotherham United way, really, is it?
No.
Exactly.
The other way around. We're normally a horrible team to play against.
About.
Yeah. Andy says, I put to the club to bring out a yellow home shirt for the centenary year as per the first Thornhill strip. Do you think they'll do it? I think they could do a one-off.
Was that yellow and brown? It's shame Danny's not here, isn't it?
No, it was like a brownie orangey yellow with the black V.
Right.
Yeah. Wasn't it a bit like that strip we had
When we come
about
back.
10 years ago? Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very similar to that.
That first season in New York, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah, it was. Absolutely. Yeah. Which was a great kit. All the best away kit. I would like to see the club do something with, the first home game of next season, do a one-off retro home kit, and then go back to kind of normal red shirt going forward. It'd be good to see a few different kind of quirky things like that going forward. And if Andy's put it to the club, if he's kind of emailed the centenary thing, then hopefully the club will pick that up as well. A few weeks to go to the centenary. Also, we're only 9 episodes away from our 500th episode. So that's something, I suppose. Anyway,
Are you doing a special podcast on May the 25th? Is it when we're 100?
Well, it could so happen that the 500th episode may well fall on the 27th of, which is the day of the centenary. Just a coincidental that these things might happen, but we may well do. We need to do some planning for that one because I don't want to do an episode for it. But yeah, we will do something. As I'm sure the club will do something for Mark Centenary as well. I think I'm done. Anything else?
Kaylee, I don't bother whether Wilkes stays or goes, to be honest. And we're not going to see Cam Dawson again this season, are we? I think we've addressed that one a couple of times now. So, but I can't see Wilkes staying.
Good stuff, mate. Thank you very much. Make sure you have subscribed if you haven't done so already, or if you want to go back and watch the instant reaction from a lovely park in Stevenage yesterday, that is still available for you to watch on there. We will be back on Thursday, which will be the preview of the final home game of the season. Please do join us and send us loads of questions because I don't know we're going to fill an hour to preview Rotherham against Peterborough on the last day of the season.
Well, it's funny you should say that, but I mean we can incorporate part of my car park podcast into that if you wish, because I will be from a car park in Wales, so I can find another car park if you want, and we can try and discuss the sights and sounds from that. It's entirely up to you if you've got nothing else to fill the time.
We could discuss the sights and sounds, but you always do it without your camera on, so that we'd be just listening to you describe the picture.
I don't know whether you can see behind me how dark it is outside, Ben.
Anyway, we're babbling on. Make sure you've subscribed. Give this video a thumbs up. See how many likes we can get between now and when it finishes. If you're listening on iTunes and Spotify, make sure you give us a 5-star rating, a thumbs up, like, subscribe, whatever your provider allows you to do. Please do so. We will see everybody next time. Thank you, Mick. Thank you, Joy. We will see everybody next time. And as always, up the Millers.
Up the Millers.
Ravel, vicious, but brilliant! Mule with it, Wood's got round the back, and Richie Wood has done it again! The magic man has come up with another trick! Well, here's a chance to seal it, it's done! It's Georgie Kelly!